Welcome Maotrons. So in today's tutorial I'm actually going to be doing something a little different. I am going to be trying to turn Easter eggs into dragon eggs. So I was at the store, specifically I was at Target, and I saw these and I was like, what if I turn them into dragon eggs? I just thought it'd be really cool to just do all these different things. I have different ideas for all of them. See, we'll start with the easy and then get harder to see what we can create. But yeah. Let's try with 3. I bet I can't do 3. Okay, I can't do 3. Anyways, let's get creating these eggs. Alright, why did I do that? Alright, so the first thing you're going to need is some eggs, obviously, and this is for all of them. I didn't show all the supplies for all of them because I'm a derp, but for this one I kind of showed what I was using. Next, you're going to want some paint, a primer, and some paint brushes. So I am going to be using Gesso, which is the Artist Loft brand. You can use whatever you want. You can use a spray primer, whatever works best for you. I like Gesso. It's what's used on canvases, if you didn't know. So first, you're going to take your egg and you're going to put your primer all over it to make sure that the base is good. And now these are the most simple eggs, and they kind of can be used as like bird eggs, dragon eggs, dinosaur eggs, whatever you want. They're pretty much just basic eggs. So I took some kind of a gray-green color and a grayish blue color and just coated my 3 eggs. I only did 3 like this because they weren't my favorite design. I just thought I would show them in case you wanted a very simple thing to do with like a kid, or if you just really wanted simple eggs. Again, they can be used as bird eggs, anything. They kind of mostly look like bird eggs. That's what I'm hinting at. Once you get a nice coat on and you flip them around and get the bottom, let it dry and set pretty nicely, it's time to add some texture. So I got a stippling sponge. Now this is a makeup stippling sponge, but I use them for everything because it's just what I'm comfortable with. So yeah, and I'm using that and dipping it into a darker color. So for the green ones, I'm using black and dark green, and for the blue one, I'm going to be using a dark blue and black. And then there are some holes in the eggs, which I really hated, but because I added the dots, it kind of hides the holes. And here are your eggs. Like I said, pretty simple, can be used as pretty much any kind of egg. Now the next ones are going to be a little bit more difficult. So first, you're going to need a glue to go around the sides of your eggs and glue it together so it doesn't pop off. I am using some E6000 glue, and the glue is actually coming out through a tiny little puncture on the side of it. I need a new one. Next, I got some Model Magic, and I put the E6000 around the outside of the egg and made sure to coat it pretty evenly, and then I got the Model Magic and placed it on top. This way, when the Model Magic is also drying, it is also going to get stuck to the egg because of the glue, so it doesn't have any likelihood of popping off. And then of course you're going to want to detail your eggs now. So I, with this one, just made some random lines around the egg, but then I also made another one that's bigger here. This one's actually a sentinel egg from the School of Dragons game. I play it a lot. It's based off of How to Train Your Dragon. I love it. And the Sentinel is one of my favorite dragons in it, and so therefore I decided to make one of the eggs. So right here you can kind of see me gluing and putting it on, just re-showing what I did. Now this egg was one of my least favorite that I made. It's just a blob with some cracks in it. I didn't know what I was doing, I just did it. And in the background now, as I'm showing you the Sentinel egg before I paint it, in the background you can kind of see another egg. That one is actually based off another School of Dragon game that kind of looks like lava, based off of the Eruptodon egg. So for the Sentinel egg, what I did is I started with a light earthy green color, and then I started working it down the egg. I wasn't worried about it filling in the cracks because I was going to do that later, and then I took a darker color and put it on top and kind of blended it down as well. And then the lightest color green I'm actually putting on the very bottom, so it goes from dark to light instead of light to dark. Then I took a very, very dark green and I filled in the centers of the cracks to get rid of the white, and I think it starts looking really, really cool. I like it a lot. I'm very happy with this one. I also went ahead and stuck a little bit of black here and there just to kind of add some more depth into it. Like I said, pretty freaking happy with how that one turned out. Next is the Eruptodon egg from School of Dragons, or How to Train Your Dragon, whatever you want to classify it under. So I started with yellow and worked it down to that big, as you can see, I made like a big chunky line that's like wavy, a wavy chunky line, I don't know. And so I worked the yellow down that way, and then attaching to the very bottom, or the very top rather, of that wavy line, I started orange and then faded up. And then I went ahead and went into the cracks with a red paint. Now the red is actually going to be a mixture of some lighter reds and some darker reds and some orange reds. It's just kind of like a mixture of different colored reds. And the very bottom of the egg, I did make sure to paint orange. I think I showed that later, I'm not really sure. Now, the little like pieces that you see floating around, they are, I guess what you would say, like, it's like lava rock. And so I painted those black on the top so you can still see the red and the cracks on around the sides. And I was leaving it kind of messy, so the red could be like bleeding more into the orange and bleeding more into the yellow because it's lava. You know, it's unpredictable. And I also obviously made sure to fill in the whole bottom section, that little like middle stripe wavy section, with black as well. This one's really cool too. Now this is the one that's my least favorite. So I went ahead and painted this one all white, and then I filled in the cracks with blue and kind of just let it fade out. You can kind of see in the background too, I made 2 other eggs. The first one that I made that was wavy, I kind of mimicked the sentinel egg with that one just because I felt like it. It's a smaller egg, and obviously I wasn't actually trying to make the sentinel egg with that one, so it doesn't exactly look right, but I think it still looks kind of cool. And then the other one I made is actually a flame whipper egg from from the game, and it was one of the dragons I was using a lot of the time, so I just kind of made it as I was waiting for all these ones to dry, so that's why it's just chilling there in the back. Alright, so the next eggs we're gonna do are gonna be even more tricky. So what we're gonna do is take some of the eggs, we're gonna cut out with a exacto knife. If you're not old enough to use an exacto knife, please get an adult, and you're gonna cut out holes into the eggs, and then you're gonna get some foam balls like I have here, and you're going to see how many you need to fill in the egg. So I put those in, and then around the foam balls I filled it with air dry clay, and then I closed the egg around that. As you can see the clay coming out to the crack, which is great, and I'm going to press down the clay with my nail to make it sit underneath the surface of the egg. Once that looks good to me, I'm going to get some extra clay and then make an eye shape and make a little, I guess, brow bone, and I'm going to shape it with my little clay shaper tool to make it look like an eyeball. And then I'm also going to take that same tool and start making little scales. And of course I'm repeating the same step with the next egg, only I'm actually going to make the eye a little bit smaller because the first one I made the eye a little too big for the size of the egg, but that's okay. And you can also get a napkin to wipe the extra clay off your tool. I just used the back of my hand because I'm a messy artist. So as you can see here, those are the 2 eyes. Like I said, the pink one, it has a little bit too big of an eye, but I was okay with it. So next I'm taking the same primer that I used, which is the gesso, and I'm going to cover the whole egg and the clay. But again, if you want to use spray primer or any kind of primer that you have, just you use what you have and what you want to use. I'm not worried about it not being smooth because to me a dragon egg or an egg in general is going to have bumps and imperfections and lines and stuff, so it's totally fine to me. It doesn't need to be perfectly smooth, but if you would like it to be smooth, it's probably better that you use a spray primer. Next I'm going to get my paints, and for the first one I'm using lots of blacks, grays, whites, and teals. So I'm going to cover the whole egg in a teal color. I'm going to start with light teal and then fade it to a darker teal on the bottom and kind of just mix them together until they look okay. It's a little bit stripy, not very pigmented. I kind of fix it here and there, but that's about it. So while that one's drying, I got different shades of purples and blues, and I just mixed them all together and splotched them all over this egg, and actually I think it looks kind of cool. It's like a midnight egg. I started off with little swirls, and then I just became patches, and I actually really like how that one turned out, the color, I mean. Then I went ahead with, when they were both dry, I went ahead and I went back to that splotchy blue kind of galaxy looking one, and I took the same idea that I had from the flame whipper egg that you saw in the background that I didn't show. Well, I'm showing you kind of how I did it here. I just took a paintbrush, a flat paintbrush, and some black paint and just kind of like dabbed the brush all the way around the sides because I really liked that idea for this egg. This is not a flame whipper egg, it's just that's what inspired that design, and it was kind of, I just think it looks really cool. Then the next one, I actually don't know why I made this design, but I took gray and I made some big splotches, and then I took a detailed brush. I started making little like line dots that are different sizes and shapes, and then put it over the whole egg, and it was very time consuming and kind of annoying, and it doesn't look that great, so I don't know why I did it. I made sure to have like dark grays and light grays and white and black and kind of just mixed them all together to kind of give different tones and textures throughout the egg. And like I said, it's not the best design. I don't know why I did it. I mean, I think it kind of looks cool, but it's just not as cool as I had envisioned it in my head, I guess. I don't know. So here they are before they have the eyeballs painted in, that is. So for this one I decided that a black dragon would look best in it, just to kind of match the black striping. I don't know, it's just what I decided to go with. So I painted everything black except for where the eyeball itself is. And then of course I went into a gray color and kind of used that to highlight the scales so you can see them better, since especially I used black, so it kind of hit it a lot. And then also the brow bone. And I kind of just blended until it looked good. And then I used white and put it over the white primer just because I didn't want to leave it as a primer. And while all that's drying down, I went to the other egg and I actually decided to make it a blue dragon, so I took a blue color and filled it in. And then because it is a lighter color, I took some black around the edges and blended it inwards so it looks like there's a shadow. Then I just kind of kept dipping back into that same blue and then going into some light blue and just kind of like went back and forth with highlights and shadows to kind of make it pop. The blue color I was using isn't very pigmented, so therefore I had to keep working colors up and down as I went. Next I went back to the other dragons, so the other one had time to dry, and I used a little bit of white to highlight, and then I started using, I decided I wanted to have a blue eye, so I started with some light blue and filled in the shape of the eye. And then I went in with some dark blue around the edges and kind of just blended in so I had a nice blue gradient, and then I used some white to add some shine into the eye, and then of course I went into black and added the pupil. For some reason I did not record the other dragon eye, I don't really know why, but I used the same kind of steps, and yeah, so that is it. And these are all of my dragon eggs, and it's a lot of fun. It was really, really fun to do. Okay, so another thing is if you would like to see your videos from me, I do have a vlog channel, so I'll be linking that down below, and we just went to Vegas, so it's kind of like a fun, exciting thing to show, so if you'd like to check that out, check it out down below. Now I feel like I've been talking for 20 years, but anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that you make some dragon eggs. If you do, be sure to tag me in them wherever you're at. There's Instagram, Twitter, anywhere, and I will link all those down below as well if you'd like to follow me, so you can show me your creations. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.